If you have tried to organize before and struggled with it, then it is likely that you didn't address all of the 6 major related issues that are keeping you from being organized. Why hasn't trying to be organized worked before? There are 6 areas which may need to be addressed. Handling incoming items, prioritization, rational use of time, project management, personality issues, and psychological issues. If you apply the methods I will share with you to change them, you should find a much better success. Let's look at an example. Say you went out to get in your car one morning and go somewhere, and it had 6 things wrong with it. 4 flat tires, dead battery, and out of gas. If I just fix the tires, am I going anywhere? If I just fix the tires and put gas in the car, am I going anywhere? See where I'm going? You have to address all 6 issues if you want to get anywhere. What do these pictures have in common? Da 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 da. It's all about habits. Gadgets are neither inherently good nor bad. They simply do what your habits dictate that they do. Habits are the ultimate masters of gadgets. Many gadgets are designed to help you manage incoming demands on your time, talent, and energy, or to help you keep up with things you may need at some point in the future. The art and science of managing incoming items involves 4 habits and their related skills: capturing incoming items, processing incoming items, discarding or storing incoming items, and retrieving stored items when necessary. Get your habits down first and then select your gadgets to help you maintain and reinforce the habits. If a particular gadget will help you develop, maintain, and reinforce habits that will accomplish these 4 things, it is well worth it. Here are some I highly recommend. Get an email app on your phone that can make folders. Invest in Microsoft Outlook or an Apple equivalent on your computer. And get Quicken financial software. Keep everything as simple as possible. There's a great story that was circulating around for quite some time that illustrates keeping it simple beautifully, and that is the zero gravity pen story. As the story goes, when NASA first started sending astronauts into space, they discovered that garden variety ballpoint pens would not work in 0 gravity. They snapped into action, spent tons of money, and developed a 0 gravity pen. Problem solved. Their Russian counterparts had the same problem, but did not have the vast resources to throw at the problem, so they gave their cosmonauts pencils. This simple solution worked at a significantly lower cost. In reality, this is only a myth. However, the idea of keeping things simple makes a lot of sense. 2 things keep many people from trying something new. 1, they think it's too hard to try. And 2, they think it's too simple to work. I hope many of you expect to finish this course understanding some practical ideas and techniques to getting organized that you didn't know before. And I hope that could be partly because of the Pygmalion Effect. In 1968, a man by the name of Robert Rosenthal did an experiment to support the hypothesis that reality can be influenced by the expectations of others. This influence can be beneficial as well as detrimental, depending on which label an individual is assigned. The observer expectancy effect, which involves an experimenter's unconsciously biased expectations, was tested in real-life situations. Rosenthal posited that biased expectancies can essentially affect reality and create self-fulfilling prophecies as a result. In his experiment, Rosenthal predicted that when given the information that certain students are brighter than others, elementary school teachers may unconsciously behave in ways that facilitate and encourage the student's success. He showed that if teachers were led to expect enhanced performance from some children, then the children did indeed show that enhancement. In some cases, such improvement was about twice that shown by other children in the same class and doubled the amount of pupil progressed in a year. The main idea concerning the Pygmalion effect is that if you believe that someone is capable of achieving greatness, then that person will indeed achieve greatness. In other words, believing in potential simply creates potential. The Pygmalion effect, Rosenthal effect, are more commonly known as the teacher expectancy effect, which refers to situations in which students perform better than other students simply because they are expected to do so. James Rem, executive editor for the online National Teaching and Learning Forum, commented, "When teachers expect students to do well and show intellectual growth, they do. When teachers do not have such expectations, performance and growth are not so encouraged and may in fact be discouraged in a variety of ways. How we believe the world is and what we honestly think it can become have powerful effects on how things turn out." So what about the Pygmalion effect, and what does it have to do with you? I am your teacher today, and my expectation for you all is understanding and success in your organizing efforts. And when you expect that you will learn new habits to stay organized, you Pygmalion effect yourself. An even more powerful illustration of intention affecting behavior is the story of the machine and the baby chicks. A French researcher named René Piot, PhD, demonstrated the power of intention with newly hatched baby chicks. When chicks hatch, they usually imprint on their mother, bonding with her and following her around. But if the mother isn't there when the chicks hatch, they'll imprint on the first moving object they encounter. For example, if a chick sees a human first, it will follow the human around in the same way. For his study, René built a special type of random event generator, a computerized robot that would turn randomly as it moved around an arena, going right 50% of the time and going left 50% of the time. As a control, he first recorded the robot's path in the arena with no chicks present. He found that over time the robot covered most of the arena equally. Next, René exposed newly hatched chicks to the robot. As expected, they imprinted on the robot as if it were their mother and followed it all over the arena. After the chicks had imprinted on the robot, he removed them from the arena and put them in a cage on one side where they could see the robot but not move toward it. The slide shown is an illustration of the results of René's baby chick experiment. The box marked A represents the movement of the random event generator when the cage was empty and the chicks were not there. What happened next was astonishing. The box marked B shows the movement of the random event generator when the chicks were placed in the cage to the right of the arena. The intention of the baby chicks to be near to what they believed to be their mother, in this case the robot, actually influenced the random movements of the robot. It no longer moved all over the arena, but instead remained in the half of the arena closest to the chicks. If the intentions of baby chicks can influence the movements of a computerized robot, just imagine what your and my thoughts can do. Now let's talk about the physics of clutter. Physics is the study of matter, energy, force, and motion. and the way they relate to each other, the physical processes, interactions, and behavior of something. There is no requirement that physics has to be complex or difficult. There are 2 rules about the physics of clutter. Rule number 1, clutter comes into your life without any effort on your part. Rule number 2, clutter will not go out of your life without some effort on your part. For those of you who want to solve the problem of clutter without putting forth any effort on your part or making any behavioral changes will not succeed. The best strategy is to set up a system that requires the least amount of effort. There is no system that requires no effort. It is a perfectly acceptable thing to delegate many parts of your organizing system, as long as you understand the overall system first. Just don't try to defy the laws of physics. It will not work. It's going to take some effort to solve the problem. Clutter should be stopped before it spreads. Clutter begets clutter. This is illustrated in an experiment that became known as the broken windows theory. Stanford University psychologist Philip Zimbardo parked a car on a street in Palo Alto, California, where it sat untouched for a week. After a week, as a part of the experiment, Zimbardo smashed one of the car windows with a sledgehammer. Within a few hours, the car was stripped by vandals. Criminologist James Q. Wilson and George Kelling, applied the same theory to crime-ridden, declining neighborhoods and communities, and all concluded that chaos is contagious. They found that if an apartment window is broken and left unrepaired, people walking by will conclude that no one cares and no one is in charge. Soon, more windows will be broken, and the sense of anarchy will spread from the building to the street on which it faces, sending a signal that anything goes. These stories are in the book The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. There are many applications for this theory. As a person who wants to stay focused, organized, and productive, it teaches you to pay close attention to small bits and piles of clutter, so they won't become big piles of clutter. Like chaos, clutter is contagious. Not putting things away and not having a place to put things away creates a vicious cycle. It may not seem like a big deal to toss that piece of paper in a stack on the corner of your desk, or the shirt you wore the other day draped over a chair in your bedroom. But stacks turn into piles, and stuff not put away in your house turns into highly distracting, energy-draining, self-producing clutter. When things are a mess, you are less likely to care if a few more items are tossed in the piles or on the chair. If things are in order, you are more likely to keep them that way. In terms of clutter, you do need to sweat the small stuff, and it's such an easy step if you want to live an organized, clutter-free life. Here's a simple 2-step solution to help minimize or eliminate clutter. Have a designated place to put things. Form the habit of putting things away where they belong, in their place. In other words, don't just put it down, put it away. The steps work well together. People often do not put things away because they don't know where they belong. In this situation, it is usually easier just to toss it somewhere close by, and tossing things somewhere close by creates clutter. The best first step if you want to get rid of clutter is to designate a place to put things, a permanent home. Draw a sketch of all your desk drawers, file cabinets, and storage places at home. Decide where everything should go and start forming the habit of putting things away when you are not using them. Have a place for everything and put everything in its place. You are more likely to put things away if you have a pre-designated place to put them. Again, don't just put it down, put it away. How to begin to organize incoming items is to categorize them. What if the grocery store didn't categorize things? Store items were just there randomly on the shelf. What if you went to get some bread and had to ask the person at the counter where it might be, and they say, I think I saw a loaf back in the corner. And you say, well, I need 2 loaves. And they say, well, I think I saw another loaf over in the other side of the store. Or what if you went to the library looking for a certain book and they said, well, it's over there somewhere. Categorizing is an important thing to do. We want to do the same thing with all this stuff that's coming at us. How many of you would prefer having many things passing through your mind and life and not being sure how to handle most of them? How many of you would prefer having a way to put all the things passing through your mind and life into one of 5 categories and having a defined system to handle each of the 5 categories? Reducing the mental clutter and physical clutter to 5 categories makes getting organized a very realistic goal. It makes handling incoming items less confusing and frustrating. This is an example of simply breaking a big problem into smaller problems that are easier to deal with. Once we recognize it's only 5 types of things coming at us and what to do with it to keep it flowing through our life, we'll be in better shape. Let's delve deeper in part 3.